Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Hello, good morning and welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And joining me on this wonderful morning is my rather injured colleague Bandula Jayasekharan. How are you?
Morning for us. You made a wise decision last week.
All will be revealed on your program.
Yeah, later.
Indeed. And also joining Bandula and I on this morning program is the news editor of the Island newspaper, Shamindra Ferdinando, complete with his beautiful flowered shirt. You're in some form of trouble, Shamindra.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Of course, I'm sure you are referring to the recent statement made by the Honorable Prime Minister.
Indeed. Absolutely.
Who accused me of trying to bring back former President.
Or he made you even more famous.
I don't know whether you could use that word, but he mentioned my name several times and made a series of accusations. And he also demanded that I explain the situation, the story to the police.
And you have you?
Yes, last Thursday and Friday the police visited the Island editorial and recorded my statement.
Oh, they came to you?
The CID?
The CID also came, yes.
At your invitation?
Of course, when the Prime Minister made this statement, I offered to visit police headquarters and give a statement, but there was no response on that day. But subsequently, they visited the Island editorial twice, two separate teams, and recorded my statement.
And is the Prime Minister right? Are you trying to infer that there is some threat when there is no threat? Aren't these isolated?
Are you a troublemaker, Shamindra?
Are you being mischievous, Shamindra? Come on, let's get to the bottom of this.
The story was based on information provided by ASP Ruan Gunasekara, the police spokesman. Subsequent to my story, they closed down that office.
They closed down the media office, the
Indeed,
police.
yeah.
And the IGP declared that he would revamp that unit and reopen it. So the police felt that Ruan Gunasekara, the former police spokesman, had no right to speak to the island. They said that he should not speak to newspapers over the phone, but issue statements.
Issue statement?
Yes.
So this is this is the thing. In Britain, Margaret Thatcher did away with all the red tape when it came to encouraging business. She got rid of all the red tape and made doing business really easy. You could register a company within minutes and so on and so forth. And in Sri Lanka, we seem to be going backwards. We seem to be going backwards because we've got all this red tape, and now this is precisely the same thing. Red tape. When the media wants to talk to senior police officers, we are referred to a junior officer who is supposedly the media spokesperson. The news business now has evolved. We can't be waiting for several hours or to receive a written missive.
And sometimes they are not emails, I mean they are faxes for us.
That's
I
right.
mean, that takes time.
Yes.
If they can send emails, that's easy.
No, I think we have been contacting a spokesman for the armed forces and the police, the foreign ministry and the defense ministry over the phone. The past so many years. I mean, why all of a sudden they say that you cannot phone a contact or an officer or a spokesman and get a clarification? ASP Gunasekara, I asked him a specific question. I asked him, why did you produce S. Sivakaran in court? Now, the Sivakaran has been arrested by the TID for
Investigation
division
yeah.
For helping certain LTT cadres who had been arrested by the PID. So Ruwan Gunasekara's response was that this Sivakaran, who had been the secretary of the TN Ilankai Tamil Arsukachi youth wing, he had helped some LTT cadres to flee to India. So the day we carried that story, they suspended the police media unit. And
so you put one in trouble, did you?
I don't know. I mean, he as the police spokesman issued a statement. I phoned him and I mentioned his name. I quoted him my name. So I had every right to mention his name because he's the police spokesman.
So thereafter,
No.
for us,
Sorry, what I was going to ask you, Shamindra, is whilst the government are trying to maintain the peace, this ambience that we are all enjoying, is it a little bit irresponsible for you to sort of suggest that there is an attempt to revive the LTT in Sri Lanka and sort of put the fear of terror back into the minds of the people? Is that a bit irresponsible? And also in the context that we have the former president whining about his security, the withdrawal of army security in peacetime. So with both those, is it irresponsible of you?
Yes, so the Prime Minister's accusation was that we were trying to help the former president. I totally deny that. There's a threat. My story is based on facts. Several people have been arrested under PTA. Day before yesterday, a UN team in Colombo declared that people had been arrested, and they also said that the government had the right to arrest people, ex-LTT cadres, rehabilitated ex-LTT cadres, if they had done something wrong, right? So if my story is wrong, why on earth they arrest people? Even after they closed down the police media team office, they arrested a person in Batiklo. So I don't know whether the LTTs, what we must realize is certain people, members of the LTT, they are trying to stage something, start something. That's why they have been arrested. More than 10 people have been arrested so far, beginning last week of March this year.
But is there a threat in your analysis? Is
Do
there?
you know for us that the LTT tried to assassinate former president during the first week of August 2009, several months after the end of war at Badulla. Now, who was involved in that conspiracy? Among the arrested ASP, what was his name? ASP Kure, who was also involved in the assassination of Jayaraj Fernando. So, after the end of the conflict, so they tried. So, just because the army destroyed the LTT on the banks of Nandikada, you must realize some people can get together and cause some issue.
We must make the point that this network, we went on a Gammad door-to-door campaign. We visited much of this country, and whilst we discovered the forgotten people, we also discovered that security was least on their minds. There was obviously no security element in their concerns. Not one person mentioned that. They were all concerned about the economy of the country and their personal economic situation.
And they were even fighting for water, the basics.
That's
for
right.
us. The basics.
But if we moved on now, Shamindra, what are you getting? What's the feedback you're getting from the public about the economy, the increase in VAT and so on, the prices going up?
Yeah, people are very, very unhappy when, especially when they hear honorable members of parliament are going to get an additional vehicle each without any tax, right? So
Paying 1,050.
I'm sorry, Shamindra, I know you're a journalist of many years standing.
28 years
28 years. But I have to disagree with you, and I'm merely a cub reporter when it comes to you. But I can't agree with you that you call these fellows honourable. How on earth can they be honourable? Were you in Sri Lanka last week?
honorable within inverted commas.
You being sarcastic. That's far better. That's far better. But now tell me about that incident. What is your reading? There is obviously an expectation from the person asking the question to get a proper response. But equally, isn't the prerogative of who answers that question placed on the other side? If the government wants to decide to have whoever answer the question, that's their prerogative, isn't it? No. The complaint is that the question that they posed about the security withdrawal was posed to the Prime Minister, and instead of him answering it, he deflected the answering of that question to a minister not related to the problem.
He asked General Fonseca to.
The Field Marshal Fonseca, I think he was there. He was fully prepared to issue a statement that I saw him.
Yes, but isn't that the prerogative of the government bench as to who answers the question?
It was asked from the Prime Minister.
Yes.
So, but the Prime Minister decided to use Field Marshal Fonseca, and it created a major scene.
You used the word used.
Yes, he was asked to answer that. So, I think, for us, the previous government deprived General Fonseca of security.
Yeah.
Right? That was in 2010. So it's happening again. But I believe.
But we have Yahapalane, we have a different.
Yahapalane is a joke, no? You know that. It's a joke. Right? Nobody believes in Yahapalane. No, it's a word just used to get the support of the people during the last campaign to get rid of the previous government. And there's no Yahapalane. I mean, it's obviously certain things are happening and there's no change. Right?
But Shamindra, isn't it about time that even the media starts pushing our legislators towards more serious matters like the rising cost of living, the 15% additional thing? Yesterday, a colleague of ours in the industry was telling me that her mum had to go into hospital for some treatment, because of the increased VAT component. That person had to pay over 200,000 rupees more. 200,000. The treatment came to about 800,000, 800 and something. So, along with the VAT component, it was pushed over the magic 1 million threshold. That's crazy. It's 200,000. And we have the government saying that it excludes medical, but not so at these private hospitals. Go and check it out yourself.
I'm going this morning to
the
the
hospital.
hospital.
Check it out
So I'll
yourself.
experience it.
Yeah, so that has affected a lot of people, right? So, but I see this government has no interest, no. Now see, last week, more than 150 people are missing, members of parliament. They were watching that movie, Pattini, at Savoy Cinema. right? So there was a major
During
issue in
that vote.
Parliament.
Yeah.
During that vote, they realized that most of the government MPs and the opposition MPs, all of them, most of them, had gone there. So when it comes to perks and privileges, they'll get together, UNP, SLP, and other political parties, and they'll get everything possible for them, their families, and their people and their associates. And for the ordinary people, they'll have to struggle.
But you see, Shaminda, what is also rather important is that we must face reality. And the reality is that the Rajapaksa years was marked by spend, spend, spend. There was no let up. It was borrow, 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 spend, 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 and it has left. Obviously, it has left the country with a great debt burden. And as the Minister of Finance explained very recently, that's fine if you spend, 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 which could also be invest, invest, invest. But you need to have some revenue coming back. And because there is no revenue coming back from the Hambantota port, the Matala airport, and there is some revenue coming back from the highways, the government have been saddled, this government have been saddled by the state of the economy. And that's a fact. And unfortunately, nobody is highlighting these issues. We have the finance minister and the prime minister and so on telling us all about this, but it appears that people aren't really giving that much of highlighting to that problem. It's a real problem, isn't it?
Yeah, but for us, I cannot agree with you, but we read newspapers, both Sinhala and English media.
Yeah.
They report extensively on this issue, no? Extensively. You're one. You always take up this central bank issue. You point out shortcomings in the system. So, but people are helpless, no? They cannot do anything.
But it is. I think we must, as a media, I think we should all band together in this and highlight that apart from spend, 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 invest, 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 there was also this reality which was rob, rob, rob.
Yeah, if media get together and start working together, the government will name all of us. No, they will say that Faraz Shaukat Ali is trying to do this, trying to overthrow the government, and Bandula, and they'll mention all the other names.
Well, I mean,
Are you?
It's like this, Bandula. Look at the price that this network paid for trying to be independent, for being independent. Right? We were stoned, we were Claymore bombed, our staff were attacked, our staff some of them were branded as traitors. That was a favorite word, which at the time it was a favorite word. Well, Chaminda, what I think that there were no greater traitors than the people who decided over a period of nearly 10 years to rob this country silly. The Global Financial Integrity Group have said that there was 19.2 billion US dollars that were remitted outside of Sri Lanka, outside of the sort of SWIFT system, so outside of the purview of the Americans. Now, astonishingly, if you looked at the tax component of that money that went out, it amounts to around 6.2 billion US dollars. Now, the finance minister told us last week or the week before at a function that all this debt, they need $6.2 billion. So if we had managed to be prudent and to be monitoring these events properly, we wouldn't need to go to the IMF or wherever with the begging bowl and say, Oliver Twist style, please sir, can I have some more? They wouldn't have need to do all that.
Right.
And so therefore, isn't it almost essential, incumbent upon all of us, you, Bandula, me, everybody, to keep prodding at this thing
Certainly.
and find out where this money is,
Now,
bring it back.
If they know the exact amount transferred from out of Colombo,
Yeah,
they must know the names of the people also.
of course.
Right. So they can release the names. They can release the names. I mean, if they know the exact amount transferred illegally from Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
whatever the place, they must reveal the names. Now, why don't they release the names? Now, this government accused the former president of having 18 billion US dollars in secret accounts. Then that figure came down to 1.8 billion. They are still struggling. No? They are still struggling. They have not filed a case in the Sri Lankan court.
But clearly it's because of the inefficiency of
Yes.
the
So it is
the legal people advising them.
So it's the responsibility of this government to pursue this matter and arrest all those people who have robbed this country, all of them. And there's no issue there. Absolutely not. And there are so many allegations against the people in this system also, right? You cannot hold the former president responsible for everything. No? Most of these cabinet ministers were ministers in the previous government, including the president of this country. Right? So they must investigate. They must find out who transferred money. Not only politicians, but the business people.
Yeah. I think it is essential, but we can't be flippant about this. This country, obviously the government spent, invested, but along the way they also went down the other route, rob. There's astonishing amounts of undeclared money. The margins have been so great that in spite of the war and in spite of all sorts of matters like an unstable exchange rate and so on, there are streams of people who used to come into Sri Lanka to try and get in on the action because the opportunities were so great.
Now, I must tell you, there was a leaked document in June 2013. It named almost 40 people, right, including Mr. Vidya Amarapada. Now, recently, Minister Patali Champika asked him to step down, and Champika requested authorities to investigate. Up to now, they have not done anything, right? So,
But they may be doing, but it's just that because the police media unit has been disbanded, you and I don't know about it.
see, you know what happened to our good friend Mr. Lasil Disilano?
Yes.
You know what happened to him, right?
What happened?
Actually, Bandula, he made a statement. He did a statement. He took action. He mentioned about a certain deal at the Justice Ministry during the earlier government, the previous government, and they complained to the government about his statements to the media, and he was sent home unceremoniously, right? So that's the situation.
That means those cannot be investigated.
I will tell you, certain people will never be investigated. You take the central bank, this bond issue, it's happening again.
Yes, there's
Now,
part two now. Part
now
two.
the COPE is under the JVP.
That's
so
right.
what's happening? So all the people make statements, but when it comes to certain people, certain groups, they'll be protected. No?
Now, Bandula, I need to commendate you for this thing. Several times I've invited Sunil Handunetti to come on the program, and some people have suggested that perhaps because I'm saying it in English, he doesn't understand. Could you say it in Sinhalese? Ask him to come on the program.
අපි ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා කෝප් කමිටුවේ සභාපති පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී සුනිල් හඳුනෙත්තිට මේ වැඩසටහන සහභාගී වෙන්න කියලා. අපි නිතරම ෆරාස් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. ඉතින් දැන් ෆරාස් කියන්නේ දැන් ඉංග්‍රීසි තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් අපි සිංහලෙන් හරි ආරාධනා කරමු කියලා. නමුත් what we are getting, Wasantha Samarasinghe, the person who's heading, he's also former JVP MP, who's coming on our program on Wednesday to discuss of corruption. He also carries files like you, Faraz. I can see him always carrying files and making complaints. I hope there will be some result. Have you seen Wasantha Samarasinghe carrying files like
Not only Wasantha Samarasinghe, now when Mr. Rajapaksa was in power, all the UMP MP used to carry files. No, they were talking as if that they had all the information, but up to now, no one has arrested. That's the truth.
What about your files, Faraz?
And you have files?
Indeed, we have
files.
I have lots of files, and some of them are not being investigated. And we need to remind the public that Bond 2 has now started, and nobody's talking about that because they are all very tired of this whole matter, because corruption is still rife.
And I think for us now, you always talk about, many people talk about illegal transfer of money from Sri Lanka. Why don't we ask the government in power and all these authorities to investigate people who have been receiving money from overseas, millions, over the past 20 years. There are people, there are organizations in this country who receive money, millions. We must investigate whether they have built houses or schools or roads, or whether they have nothing. Right? So while this country, this administration must investigate who had transferred money out of this country or robbed this country, they must also investigate people who had received money. Politicians, NGO.
Central Bank got the figures, right?
They have certain figures.
And also I want to say this, that Sri Lanka is one of the cheapest places in the world, officially, to buy a premium quality vehicle. Any. Because you can buy, according to some of the press advertisements that were placed, all these premium vehicles cost $35,000 a piece. You know, you can buy any car you want to name, any premium car, for $35,000. That's what it says in the paper. But reality is different. So here's an easy task for the FCID. Why can't they investigate those matters, because the cars are registered, they're here in this country, and go work backwards and find out how more than $35,000 was actually transferred outside the country, because you can't buy these premium cars for $35,000 over there. It'll cost you at least $65,000 to $70,000. So obviously $35,000 went officially and the others went unofficially. And there is a case in point. They can just do that.
And you can.
Dear Ravi Vaidyalanka, come on, get your act together. You need to prosecute someone. The people are waiting. They are just looking and waiting. They're tolerating you only for so long.
And for us, you can buy a jacket for $7,000.
Oh,
very cheap, isn't it?
Stay on. That's something else altogether.
That's so cheap in the US, but when you convert, it becomes $2 million. Are you investigating on that issue? Have you written about it?
No, certainly.
Why not?
You know, yes, why not?
Why not?
Come on, tell us why not. We don't want
you
the
can't leave it
panelists to
only
ask
to
you that.
Faraz.
No,
How come you're not investigating that?
I mean, I don't cover all the stories,
Right.
but this particular story I read in the Sunday Times, and you
of
also mentioned
course,
it
yeah.
on TV. You really whacked the person concerned, and you mentioned it by name.
Why not?
No, but as we come to the end of this segment, which has turned out to be quite eventful, I'm very curious. You know, I like sort of these nice shirts and so on. Where did you get this flowered shirt? Some, you belong to some flowered club or anything like that?
Certainly not. It was not given to me, not by a politician.
Oh,
certainly not.
It's a lovely shirt.
I like it.
It's nice and flowery.
The man in blue.
The man in blue. On that note, Shamindra Ferdinando, the news editor of the Island newspaper, thank you very much for giving up your time and being on our program. And Bandula, I hope you get well
I
soon.
will have to pay this VAT today when I go for an X-ray.
You might pay to remember your age when you embark on these Action Man programs. All right. On that note, thank you very much for having watched Newsline. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.